Hi everyone, I am Alexis Brown, also known as the Lawyernerd, and host of our Nevada Judges Perspective series. I've got some announcements for you about the Clark County Law Foundation and the Southern Nevada Association of Women Attorneys. First, for the Law Foundation, on June 18th, we're having a vaccine clinic in partnership with the Southern Nevada Health District and Immunize Nevada. That'll be at a Juneteenth event expo at World Market Center, June 18th at 3 p.m. We'll have more information on our Facebook page and Instagram, a flyer there. We're also working with the Clark County Library District and doing a 6-week series. The first is June 30th for a July 4th safety workshop in partnership with Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. That is at the East Las Vegas Library. Also, trial by peers classes are well in effect. They started this week, June 7th, 2022, and we have a great lineup of attorney volunteers this time. Thank you so much to Tabitha Martinez, Doreen Spears-Hartwell, Jacqueline Patel, Michael Saloom, Michael Wendelberger, Chris Phillips, Felicia Quinlan, and I'll thank myself too since I'm volunteering for our summer course. Thank you guys so much for being teachers for our students, our peer counselors. I think we have about 50 people. Oh, I also forgot, I'm sorry, Mark Achenbach and Patrick Orm are also volunteering for us. So thank you guys so much for all of that. And then we have the mock trial. Our peer counselors will be putting on trials to get their skills honed. And we want to invite the public. We want you guys to see what it is that we do. So if you are interested in that, you'll want to follow up with the Law Foundation to make sure. Space will be very limited. So if you would like to attend that, please reach out to them. Their phone number is 702-333-8277. And again, for more information, you'll be finding that out there on Facebook and Instagram. Now for SNAWA, thank you so much to everyone who attended our event this week on June 7th over the happy hour with their honors over at Atomic Liquors. We had such a great time. I don't even know how many people came. It was over 150 people. We had over 40 judges there. Thank you so much to our sponsors who sponsored that event. We are very grateful for you, and we can't wait to do more things. Upcoming, we have on July 14th, that'll be at the Culinary Academy at 710 West Lake Mead Boulevard. That's from 11:30 to 1. This is a live diversity ethics panel CLE luncheon featuring judges Monica Trujillo, Judge Biddy Yeager, Judge Tiara Jones, and the moderators Judge Nancy Alf and Nadia Kroll. That'll be $15 for members and $35 for non-members. Make sure to go to snawa.com. August 4th, we're going to have a legislative update panel. That'll also be at the Culinary Academy. There will be more information about that one at snawa.com as well. That will be $30 for members and $50 for non-members. August 16th from 5:15 to 7:15 p.m., litigation services and SNAWA are doing margaritas and manicures again. We had that a couple years ago and are grateful to bring it back this year. That's at 3960 Howard Hughes Parkway, Suite 300. And there, more information, you can contact Karen Eddington. That's K Eddington at litigationservices.com. And that's a free to members event. September 14th, that is our exciting year-end gala, the Miriam Shearing Gala. This year we are honoring Judges Alf and Sturman. That will be, as it has been, at the Regional Justice Center, 200 Lewis Avenue. For more information, you'll need to contact Alex McLeod. That's Alexandra at nettlesmorris.com. And then last but not least, we have a wine and cheese tasting event at Valley Cheese and Wine. That's October 13th, 2022 at 5 o'clock. That's out there in Henderson, 1570 West Horizon Ridge, Suite 140. That is limited to 24 members. So for more information, again, contact Alex McLeod, or this time you could also contact Marjorie Hoff. That's mhoff@courtroomproven.com. Again, snawa.com. We also have a really active Facebook page. Please go and check that out. And then also for attorneys, we have a private Facebook group, the SNAWA group, that we would love to have you be part of as well. Thanks so much, guys. Talk soon.
There are certain problems with that because just because you have the right doesn't mean you're going to have a successful lawsuit. So if you are doing things that annoy a jury, how much money do you think they're really going to want to give you? It's not that they're money grubbing. It's like you messed up, dude. You totally messed up.
Right.
You acted a fool, and because you acted a fool,
that's why you
nobody wants to represent you.
Yeah.
In reality, I mean, the only cases that are successful, really, money-wise, are the ones where people are kind. and respectful.
Bad one.
Right?
Well, here's the thing. You yourself have been arrested or nearly arrested.
I've been arrested twice.
Twice. Tell us, can you tell us about those?
Sure.
Tell
so
us
we have a
about
nice little conversation, and then someone starts recording. By the way, that saved me. And before that, I didn't even wear bow ties, but I was just like, okay, I'm going to own this shit.
Get those fancy
You're
cases,
going to have at least one grandma and one grandpa on your federal jury, guaranteed. I promise you, one grandma and one grandpa, and they probably like the police a lot, right?
Right.
And it has to be unanimous.
Right.
Please, do not vote for him for treasurer or whatever Secretary of State, Nevada Secretary of State. Oh my goodness. If you want Nevada to look like complete and utter idiots for the rest of the country and world, vote for this dumbass, because he is a complete and utter dumbass. He reversed himself. And then I stand up and I was just like, Judge, he might as well be singing Cher, If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. You can't turn back time, you can't find a way. The clerk is laughing, trying to have it not pick up on the video.
Hey everyone, I am Alexis Brown, also known as the Lawyer Nerd, host of the Lawyer Nerd Confidential, where nothing is secret, and a regular host for the Our Nevada Judges Perspective series. Today we have Stephen Stubbs in the house. Thanks for joining us, Stephen.
Hi.
Stephen is an attorney here locally in Las Vegas, and he is an expert in the First Amendment. And that's all you do, right? Or no, that's not all you do.
No, it's not all I do.
All right, well, tell us what you do. Tell us about yourself.
So I fight the government, right? So I've been very fortunate. I found a niche to where I could actually support my family and do things beyond the lawyer struggle. And so for years, actually, I did all pro bono cases fighting the government, mostly for motorcycle clubs, because they were the targets by the government in many cases. But also I've taken some cases for the NAACP and for some hippies that the government has targeted, and all kinds of fun and interesting people.
Right.
And how I made it work is the bikers referred me the motorcycle personal injury cases, which could pay for everything, because those are very lucrative.
Right.
And so I partnered with some law firms to make sure that we had a whole team to go at those, and so I've been able to do really what I love, which is keep the government accountable.
Right.
And for some reason, the First Amendment has gone front and center.
Well, that's great. So you're saying, so you're working in partnership with other law firms so that you can take these cases pro bono against the government.
Well, sometimes I take the cases myself.
Okay.
Sometimes other law firms want to help out, and
Okay.
so we certainly do that. There are certainly a number of attorneys that really want to be involved in doing something constitutional and something that's just the right thing to do. You get jaded as an attorney. If you just
Sometimes.
go for the money, it gets to be harsh on your soul. It really sucks your soul right out of you. And so many attorneys like to help out and pitch in, and so we work together.
No, I'm a huge proponent of course, pro bono and philanthropy and all of that. I mean, when I was in law school, I was sort of a winner of the 100-hour club before that was even a thing. They weren't giving that to law students in the pro bono, from the Legal Aid Center. I was grateful. I had a great mentor. She was willing to give me that and do a lot of stuff with the Clark County Law Foundation. So I love anyone who is using their education and their degree in order to really help people, right? That's what it's all about. It's using that
fun.
education to
It's
help
good.
people.
It's
So,
a fun thing.
and that's great, honestly, that you have found a way to make it work for you. As a solo practitioner, fellow solo practitioner, I think it's really great you found a way to make it work for you so you can do those things that you're so passionate about versus, just the grind and making the money. Because obviously the money is made.
Yeah.
So that's a good lesson, I think, for anyone in law school. And I have this conversation a lot. I know it's a little off topic maybe, but people in law school, you can use this degree in any way you want. You know what I mean, and make it work for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about the First Amendment, though. So for our audience who maybe has no idea what the First Amendment really covers, and I think there's a lot of confusion about what it does and doesn't cover, why don't you tell our audience about what it does and doesn't cover?
Well, the First Amendment is rather large, and the courts have actually expanded it a little bit as well. So one of my main focuses is the right to film police. Fortis v. Seattle in the Ninth Circuit was the first of the circuit courts to establish that citizens have a First Amendment protected freedom of press right under the First Amendment to film police officers in public performing their official duties. Now, there's some things that go along with that. Of course, you have to give them enough space to do their work. You can't obstruct what they're doing. But police, sometimes they don't like to be filmed, and so they'll actually go after people simply because they are filming.
Right.
But that is an established First Amendment right in over half of the circuit courts, starting in 1995 with Fortis v. Seattle in the Ninth Circuit. So a lot of my work has to do with that. I have a number of cases that we won and we're fighting based on that principle.
So what, if you can tell our audience here, if you said you got to give them their space, you can't obstruct, those kinds of things. If you are arrested for filming police, you got to call Stephen Stubbs, right? No.
Okay,
no,
so
what do you do? What do you do if you're getting that threat?
Can we just talk practically for a second?
Yeah, please. That's what I love.
Because Texas v. Hill, you actually have the right to annoy police.
Okay.
Texas v. Hill is an interesting case to where there was a homosexual man who clearly the police were after him on a number of ways, and he was a protester. He was someone that went after the police, and he was targeted specifically because he was homosexual. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Okay.
And so he would actually run up, and he didn't film at the time, but he would run up and he would yell at the police. He'd yell, people's rights, what they can and can't do, and he would constantly get arrested because they said he was obstructing. Now, he did it 4 times, and the DA or the prosecutor never picked up his cases, but he ended up just filing a federal lawsuit just to make it stop. And they actually established a rule, and look, you have a constitutional right to annoy the police.
Okay.
You do have that,
All
right? There are problems with that, okay? There are certain problems with that, because just because you have the right doesn't mean you're going to have a successful lawsuit, which is hard to grasp, but let me put it this way, okay? You can 100% win your lawsuit, but the damages is going to be decided by a jury, and it's going to be decided in federal court, and it's going to be decided by a jury who has to be unanimous, okay? So if you are doing things that annoy a jury, how much money do you think they're really going to want to give you? Where on the other side of things, if you do things respectfully and stand up for your rights and know what you're doing, and you're respectful, and the police are still aggressive towards you and arrest you and don't treat you well, juries have a tendency to pay a lot, right? And so just because you have the constitutional right to annoy the police, that's a First Amendment right too, by the way. Right. They draw the line at fighting words, okay, at an officer safety thing. Fighting words is anything a reasonable officer would believe is really a threat. Okay. I just got into a conversation. I ended up having to block them on Messenger just the last couple days because they like to go up to police and scream, "Pigs get splattered." Okay. And I think any reasonable officer would take that as a threat. Sure. I don't believe that is protected by the First Amendment at all.
Yeah, that maybe goes a little far.
And what they do is they go up to police and they try to get arrested, and they're filming for their YouTube channels, and they're saying things like that, which isn't a direct threat, but it's enough, right, that I don't believe the courts would protect it. I believe they could be arrested, and I believe that would stick. And so...
Well, when you're saying something, the slur, calling the police a pig and then get splattered, what does that mean? That's like, taking a pig to slaughter, right? Like that's a little different than, saying, you're violating this man's First Amendment rights, or you're violating this man's rights. He has a right to, like if you're shouting those things out, like constructively to this person who's maybe in trouble that you're filming or something, I could see where that would be protected, right?
And make no mistake, pig is protected. 100%.
Oh, sure, okay.
You can say the nastiest things.
Sure.
There's actually, I can't remember the name of the case. I can, Pucha is the case.
Okay.
Pucha v. U.S., another Ninth Circuit case. Poocha. Look it up. There was a hippie colony that was camping on federal lands. And one of the hippies had an arrest warrant out. And so the police came in to arrest them. Now, what happened was the hippie colony circled the police, and they were far enough distance away, and they were yelling the nastiest and nasty things at these police. I mean, C word, F word, all kinds of things. And there was one guy that was kind of a leader, and it was really beyond any human decency. Okay. Let's just say that. Okay. Right? They really crossed those lines to where they were actually arrested for that speech. And the California court found them guilty.
Okay.
Okay? But it went up to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit said no. Under Hill v. Texas, those were not fighting words. Okay. Right? Those were insults, and they were horrible things to say, but that is protected speech. Now, you're going to get a court order that says, hey, you can't get arrested for that, right? And if you get arrested more than once, you could even get a injunctive relief that says, hey, you are not allowed to arrest people for that. Right. But you're not going to get any money. Right. Like nothing. Like you're going to be spending money on this lawsuit. Lawsuits are expensive. Yes. You've got an expert you have to hire. That's a minimum of $5,000. You might even have more than one expert, right? Because you have to have somebody that's going to testify as to what officers did and why it's unconstitutional. Your lawyer can't do that. So you're looking $5,000-10,000 for experts. That's not even counting the trial. That's just for the reports and discovery, right? Then you've got all your depositions, and you've got all your discovery, all that. You can easily get over $20,000, just easy.
And that's only in expenses.
Yeah, in expenses, 20, 30, 40, 50,000. I've seen $80,000 in just expenses to carry this lawsuit forward. Now, normally, people don't have that money, so the attorneys front that money for them. Right. Okay? But you're putting an attorney in a position to where they're going to have to front money and their time, and they know that a jury isn't going to give you $1. Right. So you're putting an attorney in a position to where they have to pay $50,000 to $80,000, I should say $20,000 to $80,000, depending on what's going on, to support your principal. Right. Right. Now, maybe you're independently wealthy. Maybe you can cover that. Maybe you can even pay the attorney. Right. You could probably even do that case yourself. Pro se. Yeah. Pro per. And you could be successful because judges are extremely patient with pro per clients, especially in situations like this, because judges want to protect the First Amendment, right? But you're still going to have to at least pay for experts, right? Depositions. You're going to have to put out this money, and it's going to be expensive. Right. That's the main reason why attorneys don't take cases. It's not that they're money grubbing. It's like you messed up, dude. You totally messed up. Right. You acted a fool, and because you acted a fool, that's why nobody wants to represent you. Yeah.
And the thing too about these cases, if you lose, then sometimes you're also on the hook for the other side's fees, right? So now you're
but that rarely happens. That only usually happens. They only usually enforce that. In rare circumstances.
Right. Especially if you do get an injunction or something, you get some of your relief, then they're probably not.
Yeah, they're not going to get anything there. So, we're talking costs and different things like that. So, but still, judges don't like to really, do that on principal cases, and they can see if it's something that somebody's doing in good faith or not doing in good faith. Sure. And they're quick to dismiss those things that are not in good faith.
That's good.
But in reality, I mean, the only cases that are successful, really, money-wise, are the ones where people are kind and respectful, right, and do the right thing. Right. I have one client. This is his third case. He's won 2 cases. One of them was with me, and now we're going up again. We just got a Judge Kearns to rule that what he did was protected by the First Amendment, and we get to file the lawsuit. And he was 100% in the right. Right. But you know what? He's always respectful. He always firmly and politely stands up for his rights. Right. He's always filming. You need to film, right? And he does it the right way, and he's successful. Right. And it's all because he's kind. Right. The case I had with him, he was filming an arrest, and the police officer didn't like it, told him to move along. He said no. The police officer literally threw him in the road and then arrested him for unlawfully being in the road. Wow. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And we settled that one for $120,000.
Well, congratulations.
Right? So,
wow.
that was an interesting case.
That's a bad one. Well, here's the thing. You yourself have been arrested or nearly arrested.
I've been arrested twice.
Twice. Tell us, can you tell us about those?
Sure.
Tell us about them.
All right, so, so the first one, this goes to freedom of religion with the First Amendment. I have a lot of biker clients, and I have a lot of clients that are, in fact, motorcycle ministers. They are Christian ministers that ride bikes, and they minister to the motorcycle community, right? And they target people that they believe are not following Christian principles because they're trying to save them.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Those same people are targeted by law enforcement for completely different reasons.
Sure.
Okay? And law enforcement has intelligence, and their intelligence department tries to fill their boards with, oh, there's this person, this is their name, this is where they're from, blah, 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 all this. Okay? So we've got these Christian ministers who are a wealth of information for these law enforcement officers. So what law enforcement was doing is pulling them over for traffic violations and then telling them, look, we can hold you here for an hour. We want to ask you some questions. We just want you to give us some information about the people you minister to, right? And that was a problem. So numerous clubs came to me and said, no, you don't get to do that. Or I told them, no, they don't get to do that. And I told them what to do. And so they happened to do it when I was putting on a seminar on the Second Amendment at a motorcycle meeting.
Okay.
And so I'm in there, meeting's about to start, and someone says, hey, lawyer, get out there. The Bikers for Christ are being jammed up. The Bikers for Christ are being jammed up. And I get out there, and there's this friend of mine, Gascap, he's a minister. He points, and he's just like, that's my lawyer, that's bow tie. That's what they know me as.
I love it. I love it.
I'll tell you the why in a minute. It's not because of this, right? All right, remind me.
Okay.
All right, and so I go towards them. The sergeant and the officer come towards me. We have a nice little conversation, and then someone starts recording. By the way, that saved me. That biker recording saved me, and I'll tell you how. And so anyway, we talk, and it's like, what do you want to do? He said, we want to talk to him. Was he pulled over for traffic? Okay, and so we just go to the front of the car. We do the traffic ticket. Everything is fine, but then Gang Task Force Intelligence shows up, right? Yesenia Yatomi, who's now a captain, by the way, shows up with her group, and they show up in these black Chevy Tahoes and AR-15s and tactical gear.
Wow.
Okay? And for the Bikers for Christ, right? And so anyway, she says, Stubbs, get out of here. I'm just like, no, right? She's like, no, get out of here. We're going to ask him questions without you here. I said, oh, no, you're not. I'm going to stay. And so I was just like, there's a Fifth Amendment right to counsel, right? I was trying to explain it. She wasn't letting me. She said, move. And so then she arrested me. So she arrested me. We had some words. I kept on saying there's a Fifth Amendment right to counsel. This isn't right.
Yeah.
Anyway, she arrested me, and it ended up going to trial. And Judge Eric Goodman, he didn't even make me put on a defense. The prosecution put on their case, and he's just like, this is ridiculous. You don't even have to put on a defense. You're not guilty, right?
Wow.
And that's what the court record says. What's interesting, though, is they gave us the discovery, right? She wrote 2 reports, and they didn't match. And we found out in a civil case that she completely perjured herself. But there wasn't body cams at the time.
Okay.
Okay? And so what ended up happening is she wrote in the report that she submitted to the district attorney that I had obstructed in all kinds of ways and done things that I never did.
Wow.
The Biker for Christ that started recording completely saved me. 100%. I could have been convicted. I would have been brought before the bar, been suspended or worse, because the bar doesn't want attorneys that are obstructing justice. Right? It was that filming that completely saved me.
Wow.
Now, I actually filed a lawsuit, and it was dismissed on qualified immunity grounds because there had never been a case exactly like this. Went up to the Ninth Circuit, split decision. They upheld it. The dissent was gorgeous and fiery, but still, it's a dissent.
Yeah.
So I didn't get money for it because of qualified immunity, But I certainly won, and a judge ruled that what I did was protected constitutional activity.
Okay.
So a lot of times you can be right, and if there isn't a case that's on point, you lose.
Right.
Because the law says, and I hate this law, but the law says that police can only be sued monetarily
Right.
when the law is clear, and there has to be a case similar enough to it previously, and a ruling for the police to learn from in order for you to be able to get any money at all.
And that's a qualified immunity issue.
That's qualified immunity. The second time I was arrested.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, maybe before that, you said bow tie.
oh, you want that story?
I would love that story.
Okay, so I wasn't always a biker. I came on my motorcycle today,
Okay.
and so when some of the bikers asked me to do some things, a group of 4 of them invited me to my first biker event, right? So I showed up. I drive up in a powder blue Toyota Prius, and I'm wearing Nike tennis shoes, running shoes,
Okay.
short white socks,
Okay.
tan cargo shorts,
Okay.
a Boston Red Sox t-shirt, and a baseball cap.
Okay.
Okay.
Very casual.
And so one of these things is not like the other, right? And so they're just shaking their heads and laughing. And okay, I laughed a little bit too. But we were in a group of like 12 people. And this one girl, she just wouldn't stop badgering me. She's like, dude, you got to try to look like us. There's a table over there. They're selling shit. Do something. So I'm like, okay.
You used to get like
So
a
I
sore,
go
you used
over
to
there.
get like a sore thumb right now.
Right.
Can you please? You're like bringing down our vibe.
Right, exactly, right? And so I go over there and I get a skull cap, right? I do rap.
Okay.
And I put it on, I come back, and everybody's like, woo! Yeah! And I'm like, yeah! And so we're sitting there talking for like less than a minute, and all of a sudden this dude just starts laughing, just belly laughing. And then that girl starts laughing. And then everybody's laughing but me. There's 12 of us.
Okay.
My buddy Brett, shout out to Brett Forrester, right? My buddy Brett leans into me and is just like, dude, you're not supposed to tie a bow in the back. I tied it like a shoelace, and I had a big pretty bow at the back of my head. And so I was international counsel for the Mongols Motorcycle Club for about a decade. So when they heard that, they said, you are forever bow tie. And before that, I didn't even wear bow ties, but I was just like, okay, I'm going to own this shit. So,
I love it.
so that's why they call me bow tie.
I'm new.
If you do,
That's
look,
great.
if you're around bikers and you do something stupid, you will live with it for the rest of your life. And I've done more stupid things, but somehow this one is stuck.
Well,
So,
you know, that's good. And now you also rock it with the bow ties, which you're known for around the legal community as well, of course. You
only
know
because
what
of
I mean?
that. I didn't even wear bow ties before that.
Well, but that's great. Now you've got, you know, it's your signature, so it works out.
Yeah.
All right, number 2 of your arrest. Tell us about number 2.
Okay, so one of the Mongol old ladies, she calls me at like 5 in the morning. She's just like, I was just in a wreck. I need your help. I'm like, okay. So she texts me the address, and I head out there. And I just think it's a personal injury case, right? But I show up and she's in the ambulance. And again, I just think it's a personal injury case. There's a police officer there. And I'm just kind of standing a little ways off, and then she points to me, and then the paramedics beckon for me to come in, so I come, right? And the paramedics tell me immediately, we're trying to get her to go to the hospital, and she won't go because she doesn't have insurance. And so I just talked to her. I said, no, you got to go, right? You can figure things out, payment plans.
Right.
You just have to go, right? And there was an officer there, right? And so the officer comes up and starts talking to her and asking her questions. And I just simply tell the officer, now I'm an attorney, I tell my client in front of the officer, don't talk to police. Oh, the officer came unglued. Like, oh my goodness, you're interfering with my investigation. That whole word obstruction that they use, oh my goodness. He came completely unglued. And then I was just like, what are we going to do here? Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, what are we doing here? And then I even went and talked to his supervisor, and his supervisor said, I'll give him some training or whatever, right? So anyway, so then we go to the hospital, and I'm just sitting in the waiting room, and she's sending me text messages saying, hey, they're trying to question me. And I'm just like, no, and they won't let me back there. And, you know, I'm being totally nice. I'm just talking to the nurses. I'm just like, hey, you know, there's a problem here. Eventually, I'm invited back. And so I'm just standing there, right? Same officer comes in and starts asking questions. I said, don't talk to police. Oh, unglued again. He goes and he gets security. Security comes back and security says, you got to leave. And I said, wait a second. I was just asking questions, right? Just like, no, I was invited here. There's what's going on? And then one of the officers says, that's it. And so he just comes in and just arrests me. And they arrest me for obstruction.
Okay.
Now, the officers never actually told me to leave, right? I was never trespassed. I was questioning, which you're allowed to do, right? You're allowed to question, you know, as long as you comply within a reasonable amount of time. And I was arrested. That one was dismissed as well. But those were the 2 times I've been, you know, arrested wrongfully.
Did that one result in a lawsuit as well?
I just got that. You only have so much time. It's just, you know.
And with qualified immunity, you know, I mean, unless you can.
I could have gotten that one.
Yeah, that
right?
was pretty.
But I mean, it was really a situation where I could either help clients or help myself, and I was just like whatever.
Just moving on.
Yeah, let's just move on.
You had your client who had an accident or whatever. You know, you also had
Yeah,
to help. You know what I mean? So
we could help people.
my goodness. So
You got to pick and choose cases, and sometimes that means I don't take my own case.
I hear. No, it's true, right? Sometimes, you know, we have to leave the battles for other people. You know what I mean? And we probably, as attorneys, I mean, I know I've done it myself as well. Sort of, kind of done the, you know, time debt calculation. You know what I mean? And be like, this is no longer worth my time.
Actually,
let me just deal with this, you know, and get rid of it.
Actually,
basically,
part
or
of it
whatever,
too was I saw myself on the body cam video, and I didn't look kind, right? I didn't look kind, and I was upset with the officer, and I was right, and I was loud. I didn't swear, I didn't do anything, but you could see something in my eyes that, you know, I was not nice.
So you don't think the jury would have
No,
been
I
sympathetic to
think
you in that moment?
no. I looked at that and said, a jury's. I'm going to win, but a jury's never going to.
So again, I mean, what you've been saying really all along, and to our viewers, really, you know, if you're trying to protect your rights, be nice about it. Yes, do it, but be nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then who looks like the problem child? It's the police in that case. That's, you know, and then that's when they are, you know what I mean? And that's the only way to get those kinds of
You're
cases.
going to have at least one grandma and one grandpa on your federal jury, guaranteed. I promise you, one grandma and one grandpa, and they probably like the police a lot, right? And it has to be unanimous.
Right.
And those old people are stubborn. They believe what they believe.
Right.
They're boomers, and they have the power, right? And so just think to yourself, right? Would a grandma and grandpa that is on a jury like what I'm doing? Right? Because, and maybe they do give you some money, right? But you've got to pay your attorneys, you got to pay your expenses, you got to pay all those types of things, right? When they get mad is when you cash in, right? And that's when you are completely kind and the police look a fool.
Right.
You got to look who looks a fool here, right? The police or you, right?
And if it's you at all, then basically it's kind of a no-go in a sense.
Well,
right?
if they're more the fool than you are, or if they instigate it sometimes, but
Yeah.
you always look, if you can look like the little angel, right? Then that's the kind of thing that that they really juries really eat up.
Right. So I read in relation to that Bikers for Christ case that I read something about a gag order by a Boulder City judge.
Oh, that's a different one.
That's a different case.
That's a different case.
Okay, I want to know about that then. Like.
Okay, all right. So this is why I can't practice in Boulder City.
You can't practice in Boulder City.
Well, I could,
but not.
But it's not a good idea.
Okay, because you just. Okay.
Because I made the judge look a fool publicly, right? And won a district court action against the judge, and then I got the prosecutor fired. And so the prosecutor's friend, who's there handling the criminal cases, if I show up, my clients are not going to ever get a good deal, and I just don't.
Don't practice in Pahrump.
No,
Got
in
it.
Boulder City.
Boulder City.
Yeah, which I'm fourth generation Boulder City, right? So it's even.
I'm sure that hurt your heart a little. And
well, whatever, right? So sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't take your case,
Sorry.
you know, right? Shucks, you know, but okay. So first of all, we've got to set the table here, okay? The Boulder City judge is a member of the LDS Church, the Mormons, and I was a member of the LDS Church also, okay, at the time, okay? But he's a member of the LDS Church. The city attorney was the LDS stake president of all of Boulder City. So the city attorney and main prosecutor, who actually, because of that, he didn't generally step in to prosecute any criminal cases because of the potential conflict of interest, right? But he has religious authority over the judge, okay? Now, think of a stake president like a cardinal, right? It's more than just a priest. The priest is like the bishop. The stake president is above that, so he's like a Catholic cardinal. And the leaders of the church, including one of the quorum of the 12 apostles, LDS Church, they believe in a prophet just like older times that speaks for God, and 12 apostles that speak for God. So they're prophets, seers, and revelators. One of those 12 apostles has written papers and done speeches that says, support your stake president even when he's wrong. Right? Okay, so did anybody else see a problem here?
I mean, maybe.
Right, so anyway, we had a First Amendment case to where part of the case was my client was simply walking back and forth in a crosswalk during a crosswalk sting operation.
Yes.
So one of the charges was obstruction simply for walking across the crosswalk. There were other charges for him doing it illegally, but part of it was that.
Right.
So
and he was doing that essentially as a protest because of this state.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. And a judge actually found that it was First Amendment right. Judge Scotty wrote an amazing decision finding it's a First Amendment right, but then a couple of years later reversed himself with no... Judge Scotty's an idiot. Please do not vote for him for treasurer or whatever Secretary of State, Nevada Secretary of State. Oh my goodness. If you want Nevada to look like complete and utter idiots for the rest of the country and world, vote for this dumbass because he is a complete and utter dumbass. He reversed himself without any new facts or new law. He reversed himself later when he was running for re-election because he got political support from one. Oh my goodness, the guy's a freaking idiot. But whatever, he's not a judge anymore because he's such an idiot. He's such an idiot, right, that he made a ruling and they didn't even have to appeal the ruling. It's on the First Amendment. The Supreme Court of Nevada, sua sponte, this is a different case, basically heard about it and said, oh shit, you can't do that. They took the case without even a filing, wrote an opinion really quick, and bitch slapped him. I mean, it was, that's how much of a friggin' idiot Richard Scotty is, and he wants to be your representative as Secretary of fucking State. I mean, please don't make Nevada look like an idiot because the guy's a complete and utter imbecile. Right. I mean, I'm surprised we don't have to wipe off the drool. He's such a fucking idiot. I can't stand the guy. Okay, all right.
Hold on. So wait.
Beyond that's another First Amendment case.
Correct.
All right, so let's bring it back.
I'll give it this.
All right, so wait, let's go back to.
Right.
Let's go back. Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, he actually agreed with me. First Amendment retaliation. It was fantastic.
All right.
But anyway,
so we like him and then we don't like him. All right.
So I wrote a Facebook post that simply posted the charge, right?
Okay.
The charge, right? And just said
it's part of the
the city attorney doesn't believe in the First Amendment. He is a public officer, right?
Right.
Who was up for a job with the city council the next week.
Okay.
I was planning on going to the city council and bringing that up and saying, hey, don't hire this guy because he was only the acting city attorney. Don't hire this guy because he's violating people's constitutional rights. Okay. So I was going to do that. So Judge Miller, without a motion, nothing is filed. No motion has been filed. We go before him and he has a problem with it. He issues a gag order and in the district court decision says, it's so strict that I'm not even allowed to talk to my wife about it. A blanket gag order that I am not allowed to criticize the city attorney protecting his stake president. I was not able to go to that city council meeting. He got the job.
Wow.
Later on, I embarrassed the hell out of him and he got fired. Thank goodness, right? But then I had to take it up on a First Amendment writ, and Judge Johnson in the district court, 8th Judicial District Court, she was very kind to Judge Miller, but basically said this is way out of bounds.
Wow.
Way out of bounds. I will say though, that was the one opportunity I was able to sing Cher to win an argument. I have the video.
All right, well, I need to hear this.
I was actually out of tune.
Okay.
Right? I was totally out of tune.
That's okay.
Right? But I was arguing a case that was completely on point. That was a recent case, and then the other attorney was arguing a case that was older. Right? That my case superseded his case. Right?
Sure.
So anyway, so I go up for my argument. He comes up and argues his, and then I stand up and I was just like, Judge, you might as well be singing Cher, you know. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. You can't turn back time. You can't find a way. The clerk is laughing, trying to have it not pick up on the video. The judge is looking at me like, okay, Mr. Stubbs, but I made my point and I won. So
Clearly
I sang Cher in court. I'm getting emails from random people throughout the court. Marshals, she's like, did you sing Cher? Did you sing it? I got it on video. It's on my YouTube channel. It sounds horrible because I wasn't able to warm up. I couldn't warm up. Right? It didn't sound good, but I still sang Cher to win a First Amendment argument in the Judicial District Court.
I love that.
So Judge Miller got bitch slapped, then he got reelected. But still, look, he can't be fair. If he's going to do something like that, I'm not going to go in front of him anymore. It's okay. I don't need that.
It's not going to help you or your clients, right? In the end, ultimately, because it's probably going to go poorly, and
that's the thing. I'm right, and I have to live with.
It's hard, yeah.
And I acted, and I have to live with the consequences of that. There are social consequences, and unfortunately, there are unwritten legal consequences. He's the only judge in Boulder City.
Right.
He's the only one.
Right.
So, I mean, what are we supposed to do?
But I mean, to be, critical of our public figures is our right.
It is.
Do. That's the
It
whole
is, and he
thing,
couldn't see that.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, Steve Morris was his religious leader, where his 12 apostles who say that, or he believes, Judge Miller believes, that they speak for God. They are prophets, seers, and revelators, right? Speak for God tells him, do not criticize your stake president even when he's wrong.
So
that is doctrine of the church.
Wow.
Doctrine.
So that one was a Facebook post that got you in trouble.
Yeah.
And now the whole reason you ended up here today was because of another Facebook post apparently getting you in trouble with now a sheriff in Idaho.
Yeah, Sheriff Goetz.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so my wife's best friend, her brother was shot and killed by police. And we have a case.
Is this up in Idaho?
Up in Idaho, Orofino, Idaho. Population 3,100, okay?
Tiny, yeah.
We have a case, and there are some ethics there because I don't want to interfere with any jury or anything, to where I can only talk about that case publicly. Ethically talk about the case publicly if I am in response to something else.
Okay.
Like the police department put something out, I am allowed to, within what goes on there, I'm allowed to speak out publicly. So for instance, immediately after the shooting, they put out a false narrative. By the way, they weren't releasing the body cam. If it was in their favor, they would have released the body cam from the beginning. But I came out with the family, we did a press conference, and we said, no, this is not who he was. Right? They were trying to say he was all aggressive towards his parents, and it was just ridiculous. And so we said no, and then there was the investigation going on. Well, then Sheriff Goetz, Chris Goetz, okay, he puts out a press release, okay, and in the press release, he decides to put out another false narrative, and not releasing the video again, right? And saying all kinds of things, even saying that the family wasn't cooperating with police or with the investigation. That wasn't true. We wrote a letter to the investigators saying we'll be glad to cooperate if, in fact, this is a fair investigation. But there were a lot of concerns we had that needed to be met first. For instance, the neighbor who was a witness, the police tried to force her, according to her statement, tried to force her, and they tried to coerce her into saying that that the victim of the shooting, Mike, was aggressive to his family, and she refused. After that, they didn't want to talk to her anymore, and they didn't even interview her any further, even though she's a witness, right? That's troubling. That's troubling. They also moved some cars, right? There's a shooting, and then the guy gives keys for them to move around the cars. That was disconcerting, right? The officer, Brittany Brokop, this is her third shooting, at least. At least one other of her shooting is like weird circumstances, and it was excuse me. And she's the recent ex-wife of a very powerful and influential sheriff in Idaho that's retired, right? So there's these things going on, right? And so we wrote a letter to the prosecutor that said, hey, we will participate when you can explain this. So what Sheriff Goetz did is he then came out and said the family isn't cooperating with the investigation, trying to make my clients, right, the family's victim or the victim family out to look really horrible, right? Which is really that in itself is kind of a bitch move, right? It's horrible, right? And again, they're not releasing the video, and so I commented. Now he posted it on his official Sheriff Goetz Facebook page.
How's the title? Is it like Sheriff Goetz?
It says Sheriff Goetz.
Okay.
And it has a picture of him in his uniform, right?
Okay.
Sheriff Goetz.
Do they post like these press releases and things like that?
There's other things where he's posting official business.
Okay.
So he is a public officer on his official sheriff's page, Facebook page, posting about official business.
And this is where, I'm not to derail a little, but I think this is important for our viewers to understand that this is where it gets a little different, right? Because now it's the government acting on Facebook, not just Facebook acting. This is now the government acting on Facebook.
Yes.
This is where the First Amendment now comes in, because it's the government doing something on Facebook.
And the case law from circuit courts, actually, it's right on point. Right on point. Okay. It says that Facebook is like a private building. And if the government decides to do a town hall meeting and rent out a private building for a town hall meeting, anything that goes in there, right, that the government shuts down is a violation of the First Amendment.
Got it.
Right? Now, it's different if the building shuts down and says, oh, no, right? It's also different if you use profanity, say really offensive things, go against community standards.
Right.
But I didn't do any of that, right? The worst word I used was baloney, right?
Baloney.
I said baloney, right? I said, I call baloney, is what I said, right? And so that's the law, right?
So you post this comment, and then
he removes the comment.
He deletes the comment.
Yes, and then he blocks me from commenting any further, and then he just blocks me altogether from his page.
So completely chilled all your free speech on his page.
100%. But he left every single comment that was like, you're so amazing, Sheriff Goetz. You're amazing.
So were there other comments critical of him that got deleted?
We have been contacted, and yes, there were.
Interesting.
But this is one of those things to where, look, there's never a ton of money in this, right? And that's not why we do it.
Right.
Maybe a jury would run away with it or however, but we're trying to, and there is going to be some money, but we are trying to make a stand and make an example. You can't do this.
Right.
So now I was an attorney for a client. Now I get to personally sue Sheriff Goetz, and I did. I sued him.
So where are you suing him?
In Idaho federal court.
And it's in like the county where he is at?
No, it's the federal court.
In the federal court. Okay.
Yeah, it's the federal court.
Okay, so how do you worry about, in a state like Idaho with, a jury pool? How does that affect?
The jury pool is probably going to be out of Boise.
Okay.
Right? And it's very conservative, and they like police officers. But this decision of whether or not he violated my constitutional rights will be made by a judge. Right?
It's a legal issue.
Yeah, it's a legal issue. It's going to be, there will be a motion for summary judgment. We have all the screenshots. We've got everything that we need.
Right.
We might do a little bit of discovery, but we'll file a motion for summary judgment. We'll completely win that motion for summary judgment.
Right.
And then they can either choose to settle, or we could go to a trial and just basically say, look, this is what
This
he's
is the
doing.
damages, yeah.
Yeah,
this is
well,
what it is, or
You see, I don't have any like actual damages, right?
yeah,
This is how much is it worth
right.
to make it so he doesn't do this again, because this is going to come out of his budget.
Well, then I guess as part of your discovery, at least I would think that maybe an attorney might, or a person representing himself, might ask for things like
Oh, I have an
if
attorney.
they've done all of these other things, you know what I mean? If they've done this to other people, and even whatever the stats are on just that post alone, you know what I mean? Because they're not just doing it to you, then it certainly is, not good, right? So. Interesting. So I guess really the case law that could come out of this, and that's why you're filing it really is for the case law that could come out of it, is that it sounds like I guess there's really not a huge case on point like this?
There is.
Or
There is
Okay,
in a
so
different
there is.
circuit.
In a different circuit.
We're trying to
okay.
get one in the
Trying
Ninth
to get
Circuit.
the Ninth Circuit. Got it. So you're trying to make precedent here in
Uh-huh.
our local jurisdiction that will help you and your clients and other people in the future who maybe have these issues where they are being blocked.
We just want to win and get it out in the press and put people on notice,
Yeah.
right? So that they don't do this. Now, all they have to do is turn off the comments, right? They're allowed to completely turn off and say nobody gets to speak,
Right.
right? They're allowed to do that,
Sure.
right?
But they can't selectively say, Stephen Stubbs, we don't like what you said to us and it hurts our feelings, so we're going to lock you.
Yeah, but he liked what some of the people were saying. Some of the people were saying really nice things to him.
Well,
And
of course you like
they were like,
those.
yay!
And he does, I'm sure.
You're
that-
so amazing. And he's an elected representative.
I'm sure he doesn't have to like your comment,
Uh-huh.
but he still has to let it sit there.
Yes.
That's really the point. You don't have to like what is said, but you still had to sit there. And it's not as though you made a threat to him or anything. You just literally said baloney.
And
That's baloney.
Well, one of the things I said, I made two comments, right? I called baloney on what he was saying, and then I made another comment. It just said, if it's so much in your favor, like you say, because he's trying to control the narrative, right?
Mm.
If it's so much in his favor, then why don't you just release the body cam? Why is it that anytime, whether there's an investigation or not, it's clear that the officers have done right. The body cam is released immediately,
Right.
all the time. But when it's not, when the officers gotta look kind of dumb. This one, you look at the video.
Mhm.
Brittany Brokop, the one that gets protected all the time, she's literally smiling from ear to ear over this dead man that she just shot, and it's as if she's like a hunter that just got her prize buck.
So
It's so ugly.
this brings up another topic that I kind of have a little bit of a personal interest in, I guess. So my parents were police officers. I grew up here in town, and they were police officers in North Las Vegas. And certainly, being a child of police officers, I saw different things on how they acted and things like that. And I guess I just wonder, what can police do, or who, is there a solution, I guess? What can police or training or, what would be the solution so that these kinds of things are not happening? Is it better screening on the front side so that people maybe with mental illnesses are not becoming police officers and bad ones and shooting people and then acting like it's a prize, you know what I mean? Or is it more training, about, I don't know. I guess I just wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, do you think that it's any coincidence that Brittany Brokop's leader violates people's constitutional rights and is a complete dumbass?
Well, then leadership, I guess. Is
Absolutely.
leadership.
Which is very important. There's an election going on
Huge.
that Tom Roberts needs to be sheriff. You cannot vote for Kevin McMahill. I can't even believe we're having this conversation because he did something so atrocious early in his career, and Lombardo advanced him to undersheriff knowing what happened. When he was a young cop, he caught a stripper, an exotic dancer, with cocaine. And he and his partner were mocking her. And he specifically said, "Show me your snatch and I'll let you go." That's what he said. Then the other officer said, "Eat it and we'll let you go." And she did both of those. She actually filed a lawsuit and got a settlement almost immediately and then there was a female cop. Now, I've seen the internal affairs records. There was a female cop there that turned them into internal affairs. And his partner, they were both, first of all, they both took lie detector tests and they both failed the lie detector tests. Then the other cop and the victim took lie detector tests and they passed. And so they made a recommendation to fire both of these officers. Kevin McMahill, instead of being fired right before he was going to be fired, he resigned. Then the firing wasn't on his record, and he came back later and he was hired even though he had done such atrocious things. The other cop was fired, right? The kind of person that does that, do we really want him to be sheriff? How could he, in good conscience, ever hold anybody else accountable? The guy, I can't even believe we're having this conversation. I mean, please. I have a video on my Facebook page that shows everything, or not on Facebook, on my YouTube channel. Shows everything. I can't believe it only has 1,000 views. I mean, holy cow!
So you said on your
on my YouTube
channel, you have sort of a narrative
on McMahill,
a video about.
And then how in the world does Lombardo know about these things and have it as his right-hand man? And Lombardo wants to be governor? Are you kidding me? I mean, if you're talking about how to make a change, how about we don't have corrupt pieces of shit in leadership? How about we don't vote for them? If you're a corrupt piece of shit, maybe you shouldn't even try. Maybe you should just do your job somewhere else, do something else. But how is it that we are electing these pieces of shit?
Because
it's
people
crazy.
Don't know. I think honestly it's because people don't really know.
It's crazy.
People don't know. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here though, Stephen. I mean, honestly. And, for people to put out the reasons why they would or wouldn't vote for a person. Because otherwise, our viewers and people who listen in or tune in, they honestly have no idea. I mean, when you see the signs, it doesn't say that on a sign on the corner, does it? No, of course not.
Hey, in the comments or in the description, can we put the link to my video about McMahon?
I think that's.
I use the actual documents, by the way. I use the documents that were leaked from Internal Affairs, right? And Anthony Stavros, right? He was on the city council for the city of Las Vegas, right? He was the lieutenant in Internal Affairs that recommended the firing. He's a wonderful man, right? He does the right thing, right? And I can't even believe. Wow. I can't even believe we need to have this conversation.
Well, we do. We still do. I think because, and I don't have the internal affairs documents myself. I haven't seen them, but I believe they're there and I believe they exist. You know what I mean? And I saw it myself, I guess. And, I think even as attorneys, we're in the, you see the politics around, and there are certain, in Boulder City, the politics, that was 1,000% politics. And religion, but it was 1,000% politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what it was in the end. You know what I mean? Much like some of these things, maybe with the sheriff and the undersheriff and all of that. And now it was sheriff and undersheriff, and they're looking to move up, right? So undersheriff's
Tom Roberts is a wonderful man and would do an amazing job as sheriff, right?
And Tom Roberts comes from a qualified background, correct?
He's completely qualified. He was like third in command underneath. He's a man of integrity. He's a wonderful man, right? I really hope people go out and vote for Tom. And I've never met the guy. I did my research. I talked to officers.
Right.
The majority of officers want him to get the job, right? But McMahill? So number one, how do we solve this?
Yeah.
Don't elect pieces of shit into government positions, right? So that's number one.
I think that's the solution. But the only way to do that is to know more. You know what I mean? So that's why it's good to have Stephen's perspective.
Hey, by the way,
yes.
And if you're a Democrat, please vote for Ozzie Fumo. Oh my goodness. Every attorney wants Ozzie Fumo. You have to be a Democrat though. Whoever wins the Democratic primary is going to win because the Republicans didn't put anybody of substance up. They're going to lose, right? So Steve Wolfson, he did a good job for a while. He hasn't tried a case at all. I'm just not sure he's up for the job anymore. But Ozzie Fumo, he's got like all the Democratic unions and the backing of all the civil rights groups. He's got the backing of all these people. And Steve Wolfson, a Democrat, has the backing of casinos and Republicans, right? It's a Democratic primary, right? Just vote for Ozzy Fumo. That just seems so clear to me. It's like,
have you put out your election list yet? Like, do you do that for your friends on Facebook? I know some attorneys or people, not just attorneys, but people who are kind of a little more in the know. Do you put out like your list for who you want? Or
I have, but I stopped doing it because look, there are a lot of races to where there are qualified candidates, right, that would all do a good job, right? There's all these. I feel bad.
Now, one of those I feel like Justice Court 6. There's 4 super qualified candidates for Justice Court 6, and I am struggling.
Who are they?
So Augusta Massey, Tracy Hibbets, oh my gosh, of course, not forget Jessica Goody, and is it Bill Gonzalez? I think it is.
Bill Gonzalez, okay.
I think so. So I mean, we've got good candidates, what I mean, for the department. I think it's Bill Gonzalez. He might be another one. I might be getting them mixed up. But there's 4 really qualified candidates, what I mean? So I'm really struggling with, like, who should get it, what I mean?
Really
well,
qualified.
I'm just saying there's qualified
Bill Gonzalez,
candidates.
not so much.
I don't know who I can vote for.
I wouldn't vote for Bill Gonzalez. Right?
Okay, well.
So there's 3 out of 4.
So at least 3.
3 qualified candidates. So I feel bad, right? I mean, something like Richard Scotti, yeah, don't vote for him. He's an idiot. So we don't want idiots in government. Right. So
true.
So there's some that I feel passionate about, and I have legitimate reasons for.
Okay.
Right. So I will share those.
Okay.
The problem is people want me to fill out their ballots for them, and I feel bad because it's like there's some that I'm just coin flipped on. Right. Michelle Romero and Henderson, do not vote for Michelle Romero. Holy cow.
We know who not to vote for.
Holy cow, she wants to be mayor?
Stephen Stubbs over
Holy
here.
crap. She's another idiot. Just, wow.
And
I don't make any friends either, but I'm okay with that. I don't give a shit. Right? I'm not making any friends.
Not in this,
and
those
that's
guys.
fine.
Yeah,
and,
not
right?
those
But
guys.
But
they probably already maybe know that you don't like
please.
them. Maybe. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Well, now they do for sure.
Right, but Ozzy Fumo, he's amazing. If
I have a lot of
anybody actually
interactions.
looks into that race for district attorney, can see Ozzy is clearly the best candidate for the best reasons. There's a reason why the Black Caucus is supporting him. All the unions are supporting him. Right. And Steve Wilson, I mean, the casinos are supporting him and the Republicans. It's the Democratic primary, for heaven's sake, right? It's the Democratic. I don't get it. I just don't.
Politics is a funny thing. It's certainly a funny creature. You know what I mean? Stephen, I think we could go on forever and ever. I just wanted to say this. My baloney has a first name, and it's Stephen. So with that, we are done for this. We appreciate everyone who watches in. Thank you guys for tuning in to Lawyer Nerd Confidential, where nothing is secret, and to our Nevada Judges Perspective series. Stephen, thanks for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
It's been fun. Thanks, guys.